Hi everyone, Steve Sirico here, and welcome on set with Dance Teacher Web. And we're filming today at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And we are excited to have our presenting faculty member, Lacey Schwimmer, who is here. And she's creating some great material for our members area of Dance Teacher Web. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We're thrilled to have you here.
Yeah.
Now, many of you, I'm sure, have seen Lacey on So You Think You Can Dance Season 2.
Season 3.
Season 3,
Don't
sorry.
get it twisted.
Season
That was
2
my
was your
brother.
brother, that's right.
Whatever.
And you've seen her on Dancing with the Stars many, many a time. She is a world champion in swing dance, an American champion in Latin dance. She has choreographed for Christina Aguilera. She has choreographed for Whitney Houston, Taylor Swift.
Yep.
To name a few.
Yeah.
And she's come from a dancing family. Now, dance is in her blood. Her dad choreographed American Graffiti. Her mom's a classical trained dancer. Her brother, Season 2 winner on So You Think You Can Dance.
Yeah.
So
it's all in the family.
it's a life
I had no
sentence.
choice.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no choice.
A life sentence. So let's get right into it. I have to ask you right off the bat, one of my favorite dance shows is Dancing with the Stars, because I love the fact that you have to take a non-dancer as a teacher, whip them into shape in a very short period of time, and get out there, and they're not on their own. They have to dance with somebody. So talk us through that process of putting that together.
You know, everyone always asks, like, how do you do it? How do you have 7 days, create a non-dancer, and have them do this crazy routine? And it's a really weird process. You know, I don't think there's any trick. You know, dance teaching in general, there's no tricks. You just have to know how certain people learn. And, you know, some people might be physical learners, some are visual. Either way, you kind of have to figure that out. So every time that I would step forward, it was always just, okay, who's my partner? How do they learn? And how do I make them look as best as possible without making it stressful? And so it's a lot of stress on me, of course, but I think in the end, you know, an enjoyable experience is way more important than a stressful one. So I got really great partners. I mean, they threw some curveballs at me, for sure, but I always had a great time with them. And I think that's way more important than anything. So yeah, but we had 5 days, you know, we don't have 7 days.
No, I know you do.
We had 5 days to get it, like, we're locked and loaded.
Now, did you start a routine and ever say, oh my God, this is a train wreck, and had to completely change gears, or you don't have time for that?
One time that ever happened to me on all the seasons I ever did, and it was because I got swine flu.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we were traveling back and forth to New York during that time period where it was so crazy. Everyone's wearing masks on the plane and everything, and I'm like, I'm fine. Land in New York, sure enough, I'm like, I don't feel right. Like, it is not good. I slept for 2 full days in my hotel room, didn't even wake up. Missed my rehearsals, everything. So we called production and we said, hey, something's going on. You know, we got me in for about a 30-minute rehearsal with him just to teach the choreography. And then when we got back, I was done. So they had to call another dancer in, and he got kicked off that week. And I felt so terrible because I felt like it was like my fault that I got sick and couldn't be there for him. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the dance teacher.
That was the only thing that ever got me.
Well, it's you know, that whole process, and we think about, you know, how the learning process goes with students that know how to dance, and that learning fatigue that goes in. So to try to get people to do, you know, it is a 1.5 minute routine, but still there's a lot of content, and there's, especially with a guy who you have to kind of get him to lead a little bit in it as well.
Or at least look like they're leading.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, the thing that's different, I think, too, you know, you can do a hip hop routine, a duet, and it's a lot easier to understand off the get-go than a ballroom routine. Ballroom routine is all footwork. So it's like learning a whole other language with your feet that should not be there, really. But that's what our deal is trying to implement the correct footwork, make their bodies look like they know what they're doing, and then the hips. The hips are always the issue with the dudes. Like, they do not want to move their hips.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it's been a really good learning experience for me as a teacher. I've been teaching since I was 13 years old, you know, at my parents' studio, and I think it was a really good training process of me teaching as a child, so that I could grow with everybody and learn the tricks, learn 3-year-olds learn this way versus a 70-year-old who learns this way. So when I got on Dancing with the Stars, the teaching process was a cinch for me. I had no issues with it. And still to this day, I thank my parents for that because they allowed me to learn how to teach, which was really good.
Well, it's interesting because what you said is exactly kind of what Dance Teacher Web is about. It's about, as teachers, continuing to learn. And to inspire your students, you have to stay inspired. So let's talk a little bit about what you find is important for you and to keep your inspiration both creatively to choreograph, but also to teach, to keep that spark alive and to constantly be in learning mode.
I think for me it's two things. Half of it is ego. Half of it is me wanting to still be able to go out there and do it, you know, and I'm getting older, so like for me I'm like, ooh, I'm getting winded now, like my hips aren't moving as fast as they used to, but I think it's a way to prove to myself that I can still mentally and physically execute something that I'm seeing in my head. The other part of it is when you are working with a group of dancers, whether they're 3 or 70, like I had said, there's inspiration that they give to you without them even knowing they're doing it. So I work with my kids all the time, and just seeing them do one little thing can inspire and spark something right off the bat. So working with other people is super inspiring to me. Watching my work on them and how they bring it to life, or just their joy. Like watching someone's joy for dance is super inspiring.
It is. Yeah. It is very much so. Now, for the teachers out there, what kind of how do you see kind of where dance is kind of going and trends that they should kind of focus on as well? It could be performing. Now, I know that's a very broad stroke statement, but something that you think is really, or maybe even something that you think is lacking and needs to kind of be fine-tuned a little more.
You know, it's funny. I just posted on my Instagram this rant, you know, because it's my personal diary apparently, about, you know, professional teachers versus popular teachers. And I think there's a very fine line between the two. Yes, you could be popular and a professional, or one or the other. But professionals have spent their lives dedicated to their art, whatever it is, ballet, jazz, all of it, whatever. A popular dancer gets trendy and popular quickly through either social media or a movie or whatever it is, and then everyone thinks that they are the best at that craft. So my argument would be is focus on people who continue to educate themselves, others, everything else along that road. Don't go with the ones that are just popular because social media has taken over. I'm not saying that they are not wonderful dancers or teachers in the slightest, but focus on those who have dedicated their lives to an art form, because generally you're going to learn a lot more from them than someone who's looking at themselves in the mirror wearing a cute outfit.
It's true, so true. And that brings us to another point. How important do you think it is for teachers to constantly educate themselves and continue? I mean, I know, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about this. It's a never-ending journey, is it really, of learning?
I have never gotten to that point where I'm like, oh, I'm the best. I got this. Never in my life. Even to this day, I'll watch a class back of footage that I've choreographed or whatever, and I still am just like, oh, like, that choreography is not great there. The timing's weird. My body looked like... You still have to go through that, and I think if you get to that point of being so comfortable in a class setting or comfortable in a choreography setting, you gotta switch things up and spice it up, because it's probably gonna be very one-dimensional. So for me, it's just always about keeping myself on my toes.
Yes, and staying fresh. I think as a dance teacher, you know, for you to be inspiring, you really have to be inspired. And that you can't fake, especially with kids.
You can't with kids, especially. And I think social media is a huge factor in that. You know, there are so many videos every day going up of dancing. And I think kids get really focused on, they want to learn more and new. They don't want to focus on one thing at a time. They want to have like hip hop this time and and they just want to learn these combos. I'm not against teaching combos. I think combos are a wonderful way to learn if they're taught full and educational, and you understand where these steps are actually coming from. It's not just a bunch of choreography.
True. And we always like to say, you know, the vocabulary of dance really helps you express yourself. So the more vocabulary you have, the more expressive you can be, the more you can kind of do it in dance. Any tip you'd like to give the teachers out there that you think is just really important, that maybe they can focus on one thing, or maybe it's two, or that you feel is really important?
I mean, we were just talking about, I think just continuing to educate yourself. And I think as dancers, once we get older, you know, past that nice little prime age of the 30-somethings, you know, we find it's almost embarrassing to go take a class and make a mistake because you are the teacher, you're supposed to be on top. But to me, it's not necessarily about executing something perfectly, it's about educating something perfectly. So you should go and get your booty kicked in a dance class every once in a while. I just did at my parents' studio 3 days ago, and I was on the floor with blood blisters, and I'm sweating, and all these kids are looking at me like, what's your problem? Doing batmas across the floor, just killing myself. Yeah, it was awful. But I need to kick myself in the butt sometimes to remind myself you can't stop. Like, dance is something that you can't stop yourself in. It sucks, but it's true. It's a physical sport.
It is, and it starts not just physically, but mentally being in that right spot.
Creatively, everything.
Being in that right spot. Well, we're really thrilled that Lacey is going to also be joining us at the conference this summer. She has some fantastic classes that she's going to be presenting. So we're really thrilled to have you today again, be part of Dance Teacher Web. Thanks so much. We're thrilled to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks everyone.